Common mistakes would be that people will choose free zone over mainland just because they think it's cheaper. It's not actually always the case. There's a lot of information online which is either outdated, lies, or oh, why would you do that?
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
It's not actually always the case, and especially when you want to grow your business. Free zone may be cheaper to start off with, but mainland is going to be more cheap in the long run, or more cost effective in the long run, because as soon as you start adding visas to your free zone license, the price will increase, usually, or you have to increase your office size or something like that. Whereas mainland, you just increase your visa quota. So the Ministry of Labour will do an inspection and they'll check your contracts to make sure you need the amount of visas you've requested. However, you only pay for the quota. Your license doesn't increase per visa quota that you add. Whereas in a free zone, like I say, it will go up by maybe 2,000 dirhams per visa. So that's just the space, not the actual visa price itself. So yeah, if you're planning on expanding or growing your business in the UAE, then mainland will probably be the better option, unless you have a very industry-specific license which requires you to be at like Javza free zone, for example, and you need a warehouse and you need to have 20 employees there on the ground. Even so, that will actually be more expensive once you've added those 20 visas, as opposed to mainland.
Head towards the mainland! Mainland!
Mainland jurisdictions are separated by emirate, so Dubai as a whole is a mainland jurisdiction, so is Abu Dhabi, so is Sharjah, and so on. Free zones are small designated areas dotted all over the UAE. There's over 50 of them. Some of them are very industry specific, whereas others are extremely broad. They have their own rules, regulations, they obviously manage their own pricing, they offer different activities, so they are very much specific to themselves. Just because one free zone does something one way doesn't mean another one will. You will see that with price as well. Some free zones are very expensive.
It's very expensive.
And some are very cheap. And it just depends on obviously what you need as to what you would go with. Previously, maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, you needed to have an Emirati on your mainland license. This is not the case anymore. For some activities it still is. So for example, if you have an on-demand labour supply license, this needs to be 100% Emirati owned. Same as if you have an audit license or a law firm. So there are specific activities which do require that. However, 95% of them don't. Some consultancies will still try and add them on, and that's because the Emirati gets paid a yearly fee when they're on the license. So they will either put their own company, if it's Emirati owned, as the local service agent, or an individual, because obviously then they make more money.
More money?
Yes.
In the law, it states that free zone companies should only sell their product or provide their service in that free zone or internationally. Now they can use a distributor in the UAE if they want to sell that product there, but they cannot sell it directly. In order to remain legally compliant, they shouldn't do that. People still do. However, it's not compliant. If you need to provide that service all over the UAE or sell that product throughout the UAE, then it should be a mainland company. If you have any questions regarding company setup, PRO services or governmental processes in general, then you can click the link below to schedule a Zoom meeting with me or one of my colleagues, and we will go through any of your queries, your problems you're facing, if you just want to understand the process. We've fixed a lot of problems, so I'm sure we will be able to help you with yours. People who have free zone companies will still work with mainland companies, even though it's not compliant. There's not an authority at the moment that checks it religiously, or there's not a high regulation on it, but that doesn't mean that there won't be in 6 months' time or 1 year's time. They change the rules over here so frequently and implement things overnight, so it's better to just do it properly from the start. So if you have a mainland company, let's say you have a Dubai mainland company, you can have your office anywhere in Dubai. That's absolutely fine. So you could have it somewhere on Sheikh Zayed Road, you could have it in, Trade Centre area, anywhere you want. You cannot have it in Abu Dhabi. Your Dubai company has to have a Dubai address. Same with if you have an Abu Dhabi company. Your Abu Dhabi company has to have an Abu Dhabi address. If you go with a free zone in Sharjah, your office will have to be in that free zone in Sharjah. The size of your office will depend on what activity you have and how many visas you require. When you go to set up a free zone company, it will come in a package anyway. So you will either get 1 visa with your package, 2 visas with your... This is quota, not the actual visa itself. You pay for that separately. So, for example, if you go to a Sharjah free zone, they tend to do a 1 visa package, a 2 visa package, and so on. Whereas if you went to DMCC, they will do a standard package, which starts with 3 visa quota. So again, it depends on where you want to set up as to how many visas you'll have and how they will allow you to amend that and add more. You need to know your business activities first, because you can't really predict or choose anything until you have that. Like I said earlier, different activities are offered in different jurisdictions, different activities have different prices, different activities allow you to do different things. So you need to figure those out first before you can make any other decision. What activity you're going to have. Some activities you can only have in mainland. And some activities are actually better in a free zone, so it depends on that. Also, it will depend on obviously where you need your office space. Where your clients are based is the biggest one. So if all of your clients are international, then a free zone company will be fine. If all of your clients are local, then you should have a mainland company. Depending on your activity will depend on obviously what free zone you need to be in. So some free zones are very, very industry specific. So if you have a trading company and you're getting most of your goods brought in to a port, that will probably be the port in Javza, so you should have a Javza company. If you're getting them brought in by, I don't know, airplanes, then Davza at Dubai Airport will be good for you. If you've got a gold trading company, then DMCC is good for that. They have a gold and gemplex in there, so their approvals are a lot easier. Whereas some free zones are very, very broad. So if you just want a consultancy company or a development company, you can pretty much have it anywhere. So they talk about these communities, but unless you have a very, very specific regulated activity, it doesn't matter.
Remember it?
Free zones in Dubai are always more expensive because they have Dubai on the address. People who don't live in the UAE, or not all of them, but a lot of them think Dubai is a country itself. So if you set up a license in Ras Al Khaimah or Sharjah and someone sees your office address, they're probably not going to know where it is.
Where? Where is where? Where?
It doesn't mean that free zone is any less good. We work with a lot of free zones outside of Dubai. However, sometimes it can impact your business negatively. Some Emirates have very cheap free zones. Just because they're cheap doesn't mean you should go with them. It doesn't mean they're necessarily good or bad. It depends on obviously everybody's needs at the time. But you'll get one free zone which will maybe be, I don't know, 20,000 dirhams, for example, whereas you'll get another free zone for exactly the same license which will cost you 70,000 dirhams. So you obviously need to do your research before, because you might not need the more expensive one, but you'll go with it because it's more expensive, so you think it's better. Or you might go with the cheaper one because obviously you want it to be more cost effective, but actually it's not, you need the other one. Different free zones have different processes and time frames. You can get a license in one free zone in maybe a week, whereas in another it would take you a month. Approvals vary in different free zones as well, so some approvals are easier to get in DMCC, for example, whereas other approvals might be better to do in mainland. So it depends on what approval you need as to where you should be as well. When you're advised on where to set up your company, people or consultants should take all of that into consideration. When I say all of that, I mean obviously the jurisdiction, the approvals required, your office space, so everything you think you need as opposed to everything that your company is actually going to need. They should already consider and explain that to you. We can help you with that, or anyone with that. They just need to obviously book a Zoom call with us, and then myself or our experts will assist.